According to the director of the Cuban Research Institute, Cubans and Cuban Americans make up at least half of the population in Miami-Dade County, estimating around 2.4 million residents. Beginning in 1960, when Fidel Castro took over Cuba, hundreds of thousands of Cubans were forced to leave, and they fled to Miami, Florida. The first wave of immigrants came on aircraft. In 1980, the second wave of immigrants were sent on the famous Mariel boat lift. Soon after that, there was a little town called Little Havana created in Miami to capture the unique Cuban culture. Little Havana is part of the Tamiami Trail and famous for Southwest 8th Street, also known as Calle Ocho, where you will find the most authentic Cuban food, music, and warm atmosphere. In Little Havana, locals express their love for their Cuban culture through their various cafes and restaurants, where they sell only the best Cuban food. You won't want to miss their tapas of cheese cubes or tostones, or their main meals like ropa vieja, hot Cuban sandwiches, Cuban tamales, or grilled pork. And of course, you always have to save room for dessert, such as a shot of Cuban espresso coffee or sweet guava stuffed pastries. Locals recommend restaurants such as Versailles and Exquisito. There are almost 30 different restaurants and cafes, and no matter which one you choose, you will be experiencing a huge slice of Cuban culture. As you walk down Calle Ocho, you will hear original Spanish songs that will make you want to dance, because there's always a perpetual blare of salsa trumpets. There is also a famous live music club called Hoy Como Ayer that is always crowded, especially when Miami's exile music queen Albita Rodriguez performed and got the entire room chanting Cuba, Cuba, Cuba. The Cuban culture sure does love to dance, and that is why Miami has embraced every note of Cuban salsa. As you walk down the street, you will feel like you're walking down the busiest street in Cuba. The atmosphere is surrounded by vibrant, immense artwork, restaurants, cafes, and shops of Cuban influence, but each with its own special touch. There are about a dozen Latin art galleries in the Little Havana neighborhood. Right down the street is the Bay of Pigs Museum, filled with meaningful historical content on the invasion. Located in downtown Miami is also the Freedom Tower, that served as the immigration processing center for 400,000 Cubans in the 1960s. Older men gather daily in a tiny Maximo Gomez park to play dominoes and chess. The place truly comes alive for Viernes Culturales, the last Friday of the month street party of gallery openings and live performances. When you experience Little Havana, you experience the aroma, sounds, and family atmosphere that Cuba is all about. Little Havana and Calle Ocho is just a small slice of what it's like in the capital of Cuba, but it sure does reflect the food, music, and atmosphere of the famous Spanish Havana. No matter where you turn, you will always see or smell the famous Cuban cigars, because there are tons of cigar shops around. Cuba's exciting culture has been preserved in this small neighborhood in Miami, known as Little Havana, and it is a must-see. The Cuban exiles that came here with nothing have proven themselves with their hard work and dedication, and now have a new place to call home. Calle Ocho has become a facet like New York City's Little Italy. To this day, the Cubans in Miami-Dade County have actively participated in every election and have played a major part in various political decisions. Their passion and pride for their new country shows in all that they do. Little Havana is their home away from home.
Good job. That's a lot of information.